The diplomatic reception hall on Nexus 7 sparkled with lights from 100 different worlds. Ambassador Yuna stood among the crowd, her formal dress uncomfortable after 3 hours of political small talk. Beside her, 8-year-old Jiho fidgeted with the collar of his suit. He hated these events, but his mother had promised they would leave soon. "Can I go look at the observation deck?" Jiho asked, tugging at her sleeve. Yuna glanced at her son, then at the crowd of alien dignitaries. The observation deck was just down the hall, visible through the open doors. "Stay where I can see you. 10 minutes, then we go home." Jiho's face lit up. He loved watching the ships come and go from the massive station. He walked quickly through the doorway and down the corridor, his shoes clicking on the metal floor. The observation deck had a massive window that showed the darkness of space, dotted with stars and the running lights of distant vessels. He pressed his face against the glass, watching a cargo ship maneuver toward a docking port. Behind him, he heard voices speaking in a language he didn't recognize. The translator device in his ear crackled to life. The weapons must be moved before the inspection. One voice said, Jiho turned around. 2 large aliens stood near a doorway, marked with symbols he couldn't read. They hadn't noticed him. One was covered in scales, like a lizard standing on 2 legs. The other had gray skin and too many arms. "The humans are growing suspicious," the scaled one hissed. "Their surveillance has increased. Let them suspect. What can they do? They are children playing at politics." Jiho knew he shouldn't be listening. His mother always told him not to eavesdrop. He started to back away, but his foot caught on a service panel. The metal clanged loudly. Both aliens spun toward him. The scaled alien's eyes narrowed. "A human child. How long have you been standing there?" "I just got here," Jiho said, his voice small. "I was just looking at the ships." The gray alien moved faster than Jiho thought possible. A hand clamped over his mouth. "He heard us." I saw it in his face. Jiho tried to scream, but the hand was too strong. He kicked and struggled as they dragged him through the doorway into a dark corridor. His translator picked up frantic whispers. "We cannot let this reach the council. A child's word means nothing, but his mother is the Earth ambassador. We must be certain." They pulled him deeper into the station, away from the lights and music of the reception. Jiho's heart pounded. Where was his mother? Why wasn't anyone helping him? They entered a cold room filled with medical equipment. The scaled alien, who Jiho would later learn was named Vexther, looked down at him with cold eyes. "You have seen and heard things above your station, human child. We will ensure you forget." A machine hummed to life. Jiho screamed for his mother. The first day was the worst. They strapped him to a chair and placed a metal device on his head. Pain shot through his skull like lightning. Vexther asked him questions. "What did you hear? Who have you told?" Jiho cried and begged them to stop. They didn single quotes T. The second day, they left him in darkness. No light, no sound, no sense of time. Jiho called out until his voice was raw. No one answered. He wet himself and cried in shame. When the lights finally came on, Vexther was there with more questions and more pain. By the 3rd day, Jiho barely remembered his own name. The neural interrogations had scrambled his thoughts. His arms were covered in marks from the chemical injections. 2 of his fingers were broken from when he had tried to escape. They had healed them with alien medicine, but the pain remained. Does it remember what it heard? One alien asked. Vexther checked a scanner. The memories are fragmented, unusable as testimony. But we should continue. The humans must learn that their young are not exempt from consequences. Is that wise? The humans are emotional about their offspring. They are weak. They will accept whatever story we provide. They always do. Somewhere else on the station, Ambassador Yuna was frantic. Security had told her that Chiho was safe, receiving medical care after a minor accident. But they wouldn't let her see him. Every hour she demanded access. Every hour they gave her excuses. Your son fell and hit his head. Our doctors are excellent. He will be fine. There were complications. We are taking every precaution. He is sleeping now. You should not disturb his recovery. 3 days of excuses. 3 days of cold fear growing in Yuna's chest. Something was wrong. Very wrong. On Nexus 7, in a medical facility far below the diplomatic levels, a young council medical officer named Reniel watched the monitors. He had been ordered to assist with the treatment of a human child. But what he saw was not treatment. It was torture. Reniel came from a species that valued honor above all else. What Vexter was doing had no honor. This was cruelty for its own sake, hidden behind official authority. The child had done nothing wrong. He had simply been in the wrong place. Reniel made a decision. He activated a secure terminal and began typing. The message was encrypted using a code he had learned from a human friend. He sent it to every human communication channel he could access. They're hurting your child. They think you won't care. The message included Jiho's location and medical readings. It included images that made Reniel sick to look at. And it included one final warning. If you wait for official channels, he will not survive. They plan to erase his mind completely. The message reached the human defense vessel Righteous Dawn within minutes. Captain Taiyang read it 3 times, his hands shaking. Then he gave orders that would change everything. Battle stations. Set course for Nexus 7. Maximum speed. His crew looked at him in shock. Sir, we don't have authorization to. I don't care, Taiyang said, his voice cold as ice. Someone is hurting a human child. We're getting him back. Now move. The Righteous Dawn turned and accelerated toward the station. Behind them, more human ships received the same message. More captains made the same decision. In the torture room, Vexter prepared another neural probe. Jiho had stopped crying. He had stopped moving. His eyes stared at nothing. Almost finished, Vexter said to his assistant. Another session should complete the memory wipe. The humans will get back an empty shell. A perfect lesson in humility. He didn't know that human warships were already burning toward him at full speed. He didn't know that his perfect plan was about to destroy everything the Council had built. He thought he was teaching humanity a lesson about power. He was wrong. The Righteous Dawn dropped out of faster-than-light travel above Nexus 7 with its weapons hot. Captain Taiyang stood on the bridge, his jaw tight. Around him, his crew worked in tense silence. They all knew what they were doing could start a war. They all knew they didn't care. Station security is hailing us, sir, the communications officer said. They're demanding we power down weapons and state our business. Tell them we're here to retrieve a human citizen, Taiyang said. Tell them they have 5 minutes to deliver him to Docking Bay 7, or we're coming in. The communications officer swallowed hard and transmitted the message. On the station, Council security scrambled. No one had expected this. Humans didn't make threats. Humans were the peaceful ones. Vexter received the alert in the medical facility. His scaled face twisted in anger. How did they find out? We were careful. His assistant checked the systems. Someone sent an encrypted message from this facility. I can't trace it. Stall them, Vexter ordered. We'll release the child. They'll never prove what happened. 4 minutes later, Jiho was cleaned, dressed in fresh clothes, and carried to the docking bay. He was conscious, but barely responsive. His eyes didn't focus on anything. When the airlock opened and Captain Taiyang saw him, the captain's blood turned cold. Ambassador Yuna rushed forward and took her son in her arms. "Jiho? Baby, can you hear me?" Jiho looked at her face. His mother. He knew he should know her, but his thoughts were scattered, broken. He made a small sound in his throat. "What did you do to him?" Taiyang demanded. The station administrator, a tall alien with blue skin, spread his hands apologetically. "There was an accident. The child fell and suffered head trauma. Our medical staff did everything possible." "You're lying," Yuna said quietly. She had pulled back Jiho's sleeve and saw the marks there. Chemical burns. Injection sites. Things that didn't come from a fall. Taiyang moved to stand beside her. He looked at the marks, then at Jiho's empty eyes. Then he looked at the station administrator. "We're leaving. But this isn't over." The righteous dawn departed with Jiho and his mother aboard. As soon as they reached safe distance, Taiyang called for Dr. Hana, the ship's medical officer. She was the best trauma specialist in the fleet. Dr. Hana's examination took 3 hours. When she emerged from the medical bay, her face was pale. She carried a data pad filled with results. "Captain Ambassador, you need to see this." They gathered in a private room. Dr. Hana displayed the scans on a wall screen. "This child has been subjected to systematic torture. Neural interrogation equipment, which causes extreme pain. Sensory deprivation for extended periods. Chemical agents that scramble memory formation. And physical trauma. It was healed quickly but carelessly." Yuna's hands shook. "They tortured my baby. They tortured my 8-year-old son." "The neural scarring is severe," Dr. Hana continued, her voice professional but strained. "He may recover some function with therapy, but he'll never be the same. Someone did this deliberately. This wasn't an accident. This was interrogation and punishment." Taiyang slammed his fist on the table. "Why? He's a child. What could he possibly have done?" "I think he saw something he wasn't supposed to see," Yuna said slowly. "And they decided to silence him." The captain activated his communication panel. "I'm sending this report to Earth Fleet Command. Priority Alpha. They need to see what the Council did." The report reached Earth within hours. It spread through military channels, then leaked to civilian networks. Images of Jiho's injuries appeared on every news feed. Videos of the empty-eyed child being carried from the station went viral. Rage spread across Earth like wildfire. Ambassador Yuna demanded an official investigation. She presented Dr. Hana's findings to the Council. The Council listened politely, then issued a statement. The Council deeply regrets the medical complications experienced by the human child. Our staff provided the best care available. Any suggestion of mistreatment is based on human misunderstanding of advanced medical procedures. We hope humanity will accept our goodwill and move forward. The statement appeared on every Council world. In the private chambers afterward, the Council members laughed. "Did you see her face? The human mother actually thought we would admit fault. They are weak. They value their feelings over practical reality." High Arbiter Kalmith, leader of the Council, smiled. "This incident has shown them their place. They will accept it and return to their corner of space. The young species always do." On Earth, in the headquarters of the United Fleet, Admiral Doyun read the Council's statement 3 times. Each time, his anger grew colder and sharper. Around him, his senior officers sat in silence. "They think we're stupid," one of them finally said. "They think we'll just accept this." Admiral Doyun looked at the images of Jiho again. The broken fingers, the chemical burns, the empty eyes. Then he looked at the Council's mocking statement. "Get me everyone," he said quietly. "Every fleet commander, every colonial governor, every intelligence asset. I want them all in secure communication within the hour." His officers moved quickly. They knew that tone. They had heard it only once before, decades ago, when pirates had attacked a human colony and killed 200 people. Admiral Doyon had hunted down every single pirate ship. It had taken 2 years, but not one had escaped. Across human space, ships began to move. Civilian vessels started returning from Council territory. Trade missions were quietly canceled. Scientists at remote research stations received coded messages. Come home now. On Nexus 7, Agent Minho watched the movements with professional interest. He had been embedded in Council space for 5 years, gathering intelligence under the cover of being a merchant. He had sent regular reports about Council activities, weapons development, political tensions. Now he sent a different kind of report. Confirmed, Vexter ordered the torture personally. High Arbiter Calmuth approved the cover-up. The Council believes this incident will make humanity more compliant. They're wrong. In the Earth Assembly, politician Nari stood to address the gathered representatives. She was a survivor of an alien attack on a colony world when she was young. She understood what it meant to be hurt by those who thought themselves superior. They tortured a child, she said, her voice carrying across the silent chamber. Not as part of some greater conflict. Not in the heat of battle. They tortured an 8-year-old boy in cold blood because he saw something inconvenient. Then they mocked us for caring about it. She paused, looking at each representative. I propose we show them what happens when humanity stops being polite. The vote was unanimous. Admiral Doyon's communication network activated. Hundreds of officers appeared on screens, their faces grim. The Admiral stood before them all. You've seen the reports. You've seen what they did to Jiho. You've seen how they laughed at us. He took a breath. For 60 years, we've been part of the Galactic Council. We've followed their rules. We've been patient with their condescension. We've swallowed our pride because we believed in peace. He pulled up the image of Jiho, broken and empty-eyed. They responded by torturing a child. Our child. All of our children. Because they think we're too weak to do anything about it. Admiral Doyon's voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried more weight than a shout. Show them they're wrong. Show them what happens when humanity runs out of mercy. Begin Operation Righteous Fire. Across human space, military bases went to full alert. Experimental weapons programs were activated. Sleeper agents received their orders. The machinery of war, carefully maintained but never used, began to turn. The Council had made a terrible mistake. They had hurt a human child and expected no consequences. They were about to learn that humanity's patience was not weakness. It was a choice, and that choice had just ended. Council watched with satisfaction as human ships withdrew from their territory. Trade vessels returned to Earth space. Diplomatic staff packed their belongings. To the Council, this looked like retreat. They believed their lesson had worked. The humans know their place now, Councillor Threnick observed during a session. He was one of the older members, experienced in dealing with younger species. High Arbiter Calmuth nodded. Fear is an excellent teacher. They will return in a few months, properly humbled. We may even grant them some minor concessions to soothe their pride. But Councillor Threnick felt uneasy. He had studied human history more carefully than most. Their wars among themselves had been brutal. Their survival instinct was strong. Perhaps we should offer a genuine apology, he suggested. These humans value symbolic gestures. Vexter hissed with laughter. Apologize? For disciplining a misbehaving child? That would show weakness. The other council members agreed. They issued another statement, broadcast across all their worlds. The humans have learned their place. Their child's suffering was a necessary lesson in humility. The council's wisdom has prevailed once more. The statement reached Earth within minutes. It was played on every screen, every device. Billions of humans heard the council declare that torturing Zhao had been necessary. The rage was instant and universal. In a secret facility beneath the mountains of Earth. Commander Hyan activated Ghost Protocol. This was humanity's Black Operations Division, created decades ago but never fully used. Agents who had spent years building peaceful lives in Council space received simple messages. Execute. Across 40 Council worlds, sleeper agents opened hidden weapons caches. They memorized building layouts, security patterns, communication networks. They didn't attack yet. They simply prepared Dot at a military research station orbiting Jupiter. Engineer Sora unsealed laboratories that had been locked for 20 years. Inside were weapons that violated every Council treaty humanity had signed. Weapons that had been built in secret, just in case peace failed. Fire up the quantum disruptors, she ordered her team, and prep the nanite swarms. We're going live. Her assistant hesitated. These weapons are banned by Council law. If we use them, they tortured a child, Sora said flatly. Their laws mean nothing now. The weapons were loaded onto unmarked transport ships. Experimental shield technology that could withstand Council weapons. AI targeting systems more accurate than anything the Council possessed. Viral programs designed to shut down their computers. Humanity had been preparing for war while pretending to prepare for peace. Captain Taiyang reported to the military shipyards near Mars. His righteous dawn was good, but it wasn't enough for what was coming. He was given command of the First Strike Fleet, 300 warships, all equipped with the latest technology. Your mission is simple, Admiral Doyon told him. Hit them fast. Hit them hard. Show them that hurting our children has consequences. Taiyang saluted. When do we leave? Soon. We're giving them one chance to do the right thing. In the Earth Assembly, Nari addressed the public. Her speech was broadcast across all human worlds and transmitted to Council space. 60 years ago, we joined the Galactic Council seeking peace and cooperation. We overlooked their condescension. We ignored their insults. We accepted their rules, even when those rules seemed designed to keep us weak. She paused. We did. This because we believed peace was worth the price of pride. Her voice hardened. But there is a line that cannot be crossed. You don't torture children. You don't brutalize the innocent. You don't mock parents for grieving their broken child. The Council crossed that line. Then why laughed about it? She looked directly at the camera. To the Council, you think we're weak because we chose peace. You're about to learn what humans were before we chose peace. You're about to remember why Earth's history is written in blood. The message ended. Within hours, the Council received formal communication from Earth's government. It was an ultimatum. Surrender Vexther and every individual involved in the torture and cover-up within 48 hours. They will face trial under human law. Additionally, the Council will submit to independent investigation of all facilities where prisoners are held. These terms are non-negotiable. High Arbiter Calamith read the ultimatum and laughed. They make demands? They have one planet. We have 47 civilizations. Do they think we fear their toy fleet? Perhaps we should consider, Counselor Thrennick began. No, Vexther interrupted. We showed them mercy by not executing the child. We gave them back their broken offspring. Now they demand we surrender our people to their primitive justice? This is insulting. The Council voted. The decision was unanimous. They would not comply. Their response was broadcast immediately. The Council rejects Earth's demands. We are the governing body of civilized space. We do not answer to children throwing tantrums. If humanity wishes to isolate itself from galactic civilization, that is their choice. We will not be bullied by an infant species. The 48-hour clock began counting down. On Earth, Admiral Doyon watched the Council's response with cold satisfaction. They chose the hard way. Activate all fleets. Operation Righteous Fire begins in 47 hours. Across human space, military forces moved their positions. The Council's sensor networks detected the movement. They saw human fleets gathering at jump points. They saw the massive logistics operation. And they still didn't believe humanity would actually attack. They're posturing, one Council military commander said, trying to frighten us into negotiating. Ignore it. Counselor Thrennick studied the intelligence reports more carefully. He saw patterns the others missed. Human civilians had been completely evacuated from Council space. Not just recalled evacuated with emergency procedures. Human merchant ships had abandoned valuable cargo to return home. Human diplomatic staff had destroyed their own embassy documents rather than leave them behind. This is not posturing, he said urgently. These are pre-war protocols. They're actually going to attack. Let them try, Vexter said dismissively. Our defense fleets outnumber them 5-1. Our technology is superior. Our shields are impenetrable. What can they possibly do? Thrennick had no answer, but his instincts screamed danger. With 12 hours left on the ultimatum, Ambassador Yuna made one final broadcast. She sat beside Jiho's medical bed. Her son was awake, but still barely responsive. She held his hand. This is what the Council did, she said quietly. This is the child they tortured. His name is Jiho. He's 8 years old. He liked drawing pictures of spaceships. He wanted to be an explorer someday. She touched the scars on his arm. They did this because he accidentally saw something he shouldn't have. They did this to teach us a lesson. They did this, and then they laughed. Yuna looked at the camera. You had 72 hours to stop torturing him. You had days to admit what you did. You had weeks to show real remorse. Instead, you called his suffering necessary. You called us children having tantrums. She stood up, and her grief transformed into something cold and terrible. There is no diplomacy left. There is no forgiveness. There is only justice. And we are coming. The broadcast ended. The Council still didn't believe it. They saw one grieving mother and thought, emotional, irrational, harmless. They were wrong about all of it. As the ultimatum expired, human fleets jumped to faster-than-light travel. 300 ships under Captain Tai Yang, 200 under other commanders, 50 ghost ships with no identification, all converging on Council space from different directions. Admiral Doyon sat in his command center on Earth, watching the tactical displays. His officers waited for final orders. The Council asked what one primitive species could do against 47 civilizations, he said softly. Let them find out. All fleets, you are weapons-free? Show them what happens when you hurt our children. Across the vast distance of space, human warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel above 12 Council homeworlds simultaneously. Perfect coordination. Perfect timing. Perfect surprise. The Council's military scrambled to respond. Alarms blared across their command centers. How had humans gotten past their sensor networks? How had they moved so many ships without detection? The answer was simple. Humanity had been learning Council systems for 60 years. They knew every weakness, every blind spot, every delay in the command structure. High, Arbiter Kalmuth stared at the displays in disbelief. This is impossible. They're attacking. They're actually attacking. Vexter's confident smile disappeared. Deploy all defense fleets. Show these primitives what real military power looks like. But as Council ships moved to intercept, something strange happened. Their shields flickered. Their weapons misfired. Their communication systems crashed. Ghost protocol agents activated the sabotage they had spent years preparing. Decades of peaceful infiltration paid off in minutes of chaos. And in that chaos, humanity's war fleets struck like hammers. The Council was about to learn. A terrible truth. Humanity had always been good at war. They had simply chosen not to be. That choice was over. The first Council defense station died in silence. Captain Taiyang's fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel directly above it, weapons already firing. Engineer Sora's quantum disruptors tore through shields designed for conventional warfare. The station's hull peeled apart like paper. Inside the station, Council military personnel barely had time to understand what was happening before emergency systems failed. The survivors evacuated in escape pods, watching in horror as more human ships appeared. They had expected a small raid, maybe a single angry fleet. Instead, the sky filled with human warships. All defense stations around Nexus 7 are down, Taiyang's tactical officer reported. Station security is requesting surrender terms. No terms, Taiyang said coldly. They had their chance for mercy. Move to orbital bombardment positions. Around 12 Council homeworlds, the same scene repeated. Human fleets dropped from faster-than-light travel in perfect coordination. Ghost protocol agents had already crippled planetary defense networks from within. What should have been a hard fight became a slaughter. On the Vexthari homeworld, Commander Hyan led a black operations team through the chaos. They moved through the planet's capital city, while human ships destroyed military installations overhead. Their target was specific, Vexthar himself. Target is in his compound, underground level, one of Hyan's agents reported. Security systems are down thanks to our virus. We have a clean entry. They breached the compound using explosives that left no chance for automated defenses to respond. Vexthar's personal guards tried to resist. They died quickly. Hyan's team had trained for this kind of assault for years. They found Vexthar in a secure bunker, surrounded by luxury even in his panic. The alien who had tortured Jiho looked up at the armed humans with dawning fear. "You cannot do this," he hissed. "I am a Council official. I have diplomatic immunity." Commander Hyan smiled without humor. "You tortured a child. You have nothing." They dragged him out in chains dot across the war zone. Council military forces tried to mount a defense. Their fleets were larger. Their technology had always been superior. But nothing worked the way it should. Shields flickered and died under humanity's quantum disruptors. Weapon systems crashed from viral infections that had been planted years ago. Communication networks collapsed under coordinated hacking. The Council had built their military to fight conventional wars. Humanity wasn't fighting conventionally. They knew everything about our systems, a Council admiral reported in shock. Every weakness, every backup protocol. It's like they've been studying us for decades. They had been. 60 years of peace had been 60 years of preparation. Engineer Sora's weapons proved devastating. Her nanite swarms ate through ship hulls faster than repair systems could respond. Her AI-guided missiles never missed. Her shield technology shrugged off Council weapons that had been considered unstoppable. Within the first day, the Council lost 30% of its military capability. Within 3 days, organized resistance in the target systems collapsed. The Council's Supreme Military Command sent desperate messages to the remaining member species. This is a planetary emergency. All members must commit their full military forces. The humans must be stopped. But several species looked at the tactical displays and made different calculations. The humans weren't attacking civilians. They were surgically destroying military targets and government infrastructure. Anyone who surrendered was spared. Anyone who fought was crushed. 3 Council member species announced they were withdrawing from the conflict. 2 more secretly began negotiations with human representatives. High Arbiter Calmith watched his empire crumble from Council Prime. The massive station that had been the center of galactic government for 10,000 years. Reports flooded in, each one worse than the last. The Nexus 7 system has fallen. The Vex Thari homeworld is under occupation. The Rim colonies are requesting terms of surrender. How? Calmeth demanded. How is this possible? They're one species. Counselor Thrinnick sat quietly in the corner. He had warned them. No one had listened. Now he watched the consequences unfold with grim resignation. We underestimated them, he said. We thought peace meant weakness. We forgot that choosing not to fight is different from being unable to fight. On day 7 of the war, a transmission was broadcast across all Council space. It showed Vexther in chains, kneeling before a camera. Beside him stood Commander Hyan, and in front of them both was Jiho. The boy looked at the alien who had tortured him. Jiho still couldn't speak much. The trauma was too deep. But his eyes held understanding now. He knew who this was. He knew what had been done to him. Vexther tried to speak. I was following orders. The Council authorized silence, Hyan said. You don't get to speak. The transmission showed Jiho's scars. It showed medical reports. It showed everything that had been done to an 8-year-old child. And then it showed something else. Vexther's own people, desperate to stop the human advance, had captured him from Hyan's team. They executed him on camera, broadcasting it to humanity as proof of their cooperation. They thought it would stop the war. Ambassador Yuna watched the execution from Earth. She felt nothing. No satisfaction. No closure. Just emptiness. Is it enough? Someone asked her. No, she said quietly. This was never about one monster. This is about a system that let it happen. That encouraged it. That laughed about it. Admiral Doyan agreed. The war continued. 3 Council worlds that had actively participated in the cover-up received a different kind of message. Human ships appeared in orbit and broadcast a warning. You have 24 hours to evacuate all civilians. After that, these worlds will be rendered uninhabitable. This is not negotiable. You can't, the planetary leaders protested. This is genocide. No, Admiral Doyan responded coldly. Genocide is what you planned for others. This is justice. You created a system that tortures children. That system cannot be allowed to continue. Evacuate now. The planet's evacuated. The human fleets used weapons that made the worlds toxic for centuries, but killed no one directly. The message was clear. Humanity could have killed billions, but chose not to. That mercy was deliberate, measured, and terrifying in its restraint. By day 15, the Council's military was broken. By day 20, member species were openly defecting. By day 25, Council Prime itself came under attack. Captain Taiyang's fleet surrounded the massive station. Inside, tens of thousands of Council members and staff huddled in fear. They had expected humanity to simply blast the station apart. Instead, human soldiers boarded it. The fighting was brief. Council security forces surrendered quickly when they realized human soldiers were not killing anyone who put down weapons. They were angry, efficient, and utterly professional. High Arbiter Calmeth was found in his private chambers. He had taken his own life rather than face human justice. His final message was defiant. The Council represented 10,000 years of civilization. You have destroyed something beautiful and replaced it with barbarism. Ambassador Yuna, who had traveled to Council Prime for its fall, read the message and felt only cold contempt. You tortured my child and called it civilization. You mocked grieving parents and called it wisdom. Your beautiful system was built on cruelty to those weaker than you. I'm glad it's dead. On day 30, the war ended. Every Council homeworld was under human control. Every military installation was destroyed or occupied. The 47 species of the Council were scattered, leaderless, and terrified. Captain Taiyang stood on the bridge of his ship, looking at the ruins of Council Prime. His crew was exhausted but victorious. They had done the impossible. They had destroyed an empire that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. But Taiyang felt no pride. He looked at his hands and saw blood, even though they were clean. He had killed thousands. He had burned worlds. He had done it all for a good reason. But that didn't make it feel any less heavy. Double quotes, sir. Admiral Doyan is requesting a report. Taiyang activated the communication. The Council is defeated. What are our orders now? Admiral Doyan looked tired, older than he had been 30 days ago. Now comes the hard part. We have to build something better from the ashes. And we have to make sure we don't become the monsters we just defeated. Across the conquered territory, human forces held position. The galaxy waited in fear. Humanity had proven it could destroy. Now everyone wondered, what would humanity do with ultimate power? The answer would surprise them all. 1 month after the war ended, the galaxy held its breath. Human fleets surrounded every former Council world. Occupation forces maintained order, and everyone expected the worst. History was full of examples. When one species conquered another, slaves were taken. Resources were stripped. Populations were controlled through fear. The defeated became property of the victors. That was how power worked in the galaxy. But humanity did something different. Admiral Doyan stood before a gathering of representatives from all 47 former Council species. The meeting took place on Council Prime, in the same chamber where the Council had once declared Jiho's torture necessary. The symbolism was deliberate. You're expecting us to rule you, Doyan said simply. You're expecting chains and cruelty. You're judging us by your own standards. The representatives sat in nervous silence. Some were defiant. Most were terrified. We didn't come here to conquer, Doyan continued. We came here to ensure this never happens again. Not to humans. Not to anyone. We came here to break a system that allowed children to be tortured for political convenience. He activated a display. This is the Covenant of Sentient Rights. It's a simple document. All intelligent beings have the right to life, dignity, and protection from cruelty. Children especially are protected. No exceptions. No loopholes. No political justifications. The representatives read the document carefully, looking for the trap. Where was the clause that gave humanity special privileges? Where was the fine print that made them slaves? There wasn't any. You're giving us back our independence? One representative asked cautiously. Yes, Doyan said. With conditions. You must sign this covenant. You must allow independent inspections to ensure you're following it. And if you ever torture a child again or commit similar atrocities, we will come back. And next time, we won't be merciful. It was such a simple offer that many didn't believe it. But over the following weeks, human actions matched human words. Occupation forces began withdrawing. Local governments were restored. Trade routes reopened. Ambassador Yuna was appointed as the first High Chancellor of the new Galactic Covenant. She worked alongside Ambassador Jiwan, a skilled diplomat who had helped negotiate the peace terms. Together, they traveled to every former Council world. Their message was consistent. We don't want to rule you. We want to make sure no one rules through fear and cruelty. On the Vexthari homeworld, the one that had produced the monster who tortured Jiho, there was special attention. Human aid workers helped rebuild what the war had destroyed. But they also established something new. A memorial. It was a simple statue of a child, arms wrapped around themselves in pain and fear. The plaque read, "Remember what happens when power is used to hurt the innocent. Remember why this world fell. Remember to be better." The Vexthari people hated it at first. It was a reminder of their shame. But slowly, they began to understand. The statue wasn't just about their guilt. It was about preventing future guilt. It was about choosing differently. Those council members who had actively participated in Jiho's torture or the cover-up faced justice. They were not executed. Instead, they were exiled to a remote world with minimal technology. They had to build their own society from scratch, with no power over anyone but themselves. "Let them understand what it means to be helpless," Yuna said when the sentence was announced. "Let them live with their choices." Engineer Sora oversaw the destruction of her own weapons. The quantum disruptors, nanite swarms, and viral programs that had won the war were dismantled. Every one of them. Why? Her assistants asked. "These weapons gave us superiority. They keep us safe." Sora looked at the destructive tools she had created. "They also make us dangerous. We used them once for a good reason. But if we keep them, someday someone will use them for a bad reason. Better to destroy them now." One set of blueprints was sealed in Earth's deepest vault. The access codes were split among 12 people who would never meet. The label on the file was simple: "In case they forget why they fear us." Captain Taiyang retired from military service. He couldn't continue. The weight of what he had done, even though it was necessary, was too heavy. He returned to Earth and spent his days in quiet isolation. Dr. Hana visited him once. "You saved countless future children," she told him. "What you did mattered." "I know," Taiyang said softly, "but I still see their faces. The ones who died because of my orders. Being right doesn't make it easier." Dr. Hana had no answer for that. She simply sat with him in understanding silence. Commander Hyan's Ghost Protocol was officially disbanded. The sleeper agents were recalled, their covers intact. But rumors persisted that some remained in place, watching. Just in case. "Trust, but verify," Admiral Doyon said when asked about it. "We hope we never need them again." But hope is not a strategy. The hardest part of the aftermath was helping Jiho recover. Dr. Hana worked with him daily. Progress was slow. He would never be the child he was before. The torture had damaged him in ways that couldn't be fully healed. But gradually, with patience and love, Jiho began to come back to himself. He learned to speak again. He learned to trust again. He learned that the universe could be safe. 2 years after the war ended, Jiho spoke publicly for the first time. He was 10 years old now, standing beside his mother at a memorial ceremony. Representatives from across the galaxy had gathered. His voice was quiet but clear. "They tried to break me. They wanted to break all of humanity through me. They thought if they hurt one of us badly enough, we would be afraid." He touched the scars on his arm. They had faded but would never disappear. Instead, they showed everyone what happens when you hurt those we love. Not just humans. Anyone under our protection. The galaxy is safer now because of what happened to me. Jiho looked at the crowd. "I don't want anyone else to feel what I felt. Not humans. Not aliens. No one. That's why we built this new system from the ashes. That's why we're here together." He paused, and his next words would be remembered forever. "I'm not glad I was tortured, but I'm glad something good came from it. I'm glad no other child will suffer like I did. That has to mean something. That has to be worth it." The ceremony ended in silence. There was nothing to add. Politician Nari established the Remembrance Initiative. Across every world, monuments were built. Not to celebrate humanity's victory, but to remember the cost of cruelty. Each monument told a story of what happened when power was abused. "Forget the past, and you're doomed to repeat it," Nari said at each dedication. "Remember, and you can choose differently." 5 years after the war, the galaxy had changed. Trade flourished under the new system. Species that had once been enemies worked together. The covenant was honored not through force, but through genuine belief in its principles. Some council species apologized directly to humanity. Some never did. Humanity accepted both responses with equal grace. "We're not looking for apologies," Ambassador Yuna told those who came to Earth with gifts and regrets. "We're looking for change. Show us you're different now. That's enough." Captain Tai Yang, in his retirement, began teaching at a military academy. He taught young officers about the weight of command, the cost of war, and the importance of knowing when not to fight. "We won the war in 30 days, he told his students. "But we should never have had to fight it at all. If the Council had simply admitted what they did and faced justice, millions of lives would have been spared. Sometimes the hardest battle is admitting you were wrong." Engineer Sora turned her talents to peaceful technology. She developed new medical equipment, better engines for civilian ships, improved communication systems. When asked why, she said simply, "I know how to destroy. Now I want to build." Admiral Doyan eventually retired as well. His final speech to the fleet was brief. "We did what was necessary. We broke an empire built on cruelty. But never forget, we're capable of becoming what we destroyed. Stay vigilant. Stay humble. Stay human." Chi-Ho grew up in this new galaxy. He bore his scars, but wasn't defined by them. He chose to study diplomacy, following in his mother's footsteps. When asked why, he said, "Someone has to make sure this never happens again. Might as well be me." On the anniversary of the war's end, humanity held a moment of silence, not to celebrate victory, but to remember all who died human and alien alike. War was never glorious, even when necessary. The galaxy learned to respect humanity, not for their weapons or their victories, but for what they did with power. They could have enslaved entire species. They could have ruled with an iron fist. They could have become the very monsters they fought against. Instead, they built something better. Human ships still patrolled the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as protectors. When pirates attacked a colony, humans responded. When natural disasters struck, humans sent aid. When disputes arose, humans mediated. And always, quietly, humans watched for signs of cruelty, for torture, for abuse of power, for anyone who might hurt the innocent. The message was clear across the stars. Humanity had chosen peace. They had chosen mercy. They had chosen to build rather than destroy. But every species remembered the 30 days when humanity chose differently. Every species remembered what happened when someone hurt a human child. Every species saw the monuments, read the histories, and understood the lesson. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their tactics or their determination. It was their choice. Every day, they chose peace over violence. Every day, they chose building over destroying. Every day, they chose mercy over revenge. But everyone knew, if you crossed the one line they wouldn't tolerate, if you hurt a child, if you tortured the innocent, if you mocked those who grieved, then humanity's choice would change, and the galaxy would burn. The Council had learned that lesson. They had paid for it with their empire, their pride, and their lives. Now their lesson was taught to every child on every world. Never hurt the innocent. Never torture children. Never mistake mercy for weakness, because somewhere in the galaxy, humanity was watching, and they would never forget